But my heart, my weird heart, was hoping for a romance. Yet, I do realize that this is extremely problematic. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today is my wrap-up for August. August was a lot of fun as we went to a cottage, yay! I did lots of paddleboarding and jet skiing. So this is CHARLINA, my jet ski. This is CHARLINA, my jet ski. I love boating, but jet skiing is just something else. We just bought this jet ski this year. My partner and I are now addicted to it, and we want to get a second one so we can ride in tandem. Yeah, I love jet skiing. It's so much fun. Anyway, I also read a lot of books at the cottage. I read 3 books in a week, which was a lot for me, but I didn't get to write anything because my kids were at the cottage with me, obviously, and I can barely read when they're around. Yeah, barely read. I got through 3 books. But, yeah, they nap sometimes. Anyway, I also was not in the mindset to write anything, so I'm still trying to, get my newest book kind of out, and I can't focus on a new project until this one is done, so... Anyway, we also saw some relatives a lot, so that cut into my reading and writing time. So I read 8 books in August. I will add that I already surpassed my 52 books a year Goodreads goal, so that's kind of crazy, actually. I've never done that in August before. Usually I bypass it maybe at the end of November. The first book that I read in August was A Memory Called Empire by Arkady Martine. So this was a 2019 sci-fi by Tor. I got this book from the library, and I read it as part of Interstellar Book Club's August Read. You can check out their live feed show about the book. I actually didn't because I had to take my kids to the park. But by the time I post this, I should have watched it. But anyway, I've heard that it's a lot of fun. So you should check out their live streams of books. And I'm going to be on the next one because we're going to talk about Dune. And yeah, I love Dune. So anyway, I'm talking about... what am I talking about? A Memory Called Empire. So... I kind of struggled with this review because on one hand, I'm in awe of the world building and attention to detail that the novel creates, but on the other, I found the plot a little lackluster and the characters were somewhat uninteresting to me. So here's what the book's about. Ambassador Mahit Desmar arrives in the center of the multi-system, I'm not going to say this right, Texakalali, whatever, empire, only to discover that her predecessor, the previous ambassador from their small but fiercely independent mining station, has died. But no one will admit that his death wasn't an accident or that Mahit may be the next to die during a time of political instability in the highest echelons of the imperial court. Now Mahit must discover who is behind the murder, rescue herself, and save her station from Texacalan's unceasing expansion, all the while navigating an alien culture that is all too seductive, engaging in intricacies of her own, and hiding a deadly technological secret, one that might spell the end of her station and her way of life, or rescue it from annihilation. This sounds a lot more exciting than it actually is, to be completely honest. So, for me, this is one of those books where the narrative craft on certain aspects far outweighs the weaker elements. I definitely still enjoyed the novel, but there was something so methodical about it for me to find any passion in it. The novel had exciting moments, but I felt like I was reading them from a distance rather than immersed in the situation. It's possible this is because I found the characters a little dull. Don't get me wrong. If being an ambassador or a diplomat is your deal, then by all means, live your best life. But it doesn't spark any joy for me. As such, because I prefer to read about rebels and dissidents over politicians, I couldn't identify with Mahit on any real level. 3 Seagrass, one of the other characters, was also a rather boring counterpart, and while there was some small attempt to create a bond between them, it lacked any real intensity or passion to be a real romance for me. And because we didn't know Yaskander, the diplomat who was murdered, I wasn't really involved in figuring out who killed him or why, because I didn't care. I also had trouble with the stakes in the novel because we don't get to see the external threat in action. We barely see the station, and Mahit has only been on the planet for a week. I didn't really grasp why there was any upheaval. Are we supposed to be upset that an empire, a word with negative connotations, is being disrupted? Because I wasn't sure what real benefits the empire provided to the people. I didn't share Mahit and 3 Seagrass's compunction to work to save it, or how saving it would save the station's autonomy. Maybe I missed something, but I didn't really understand the connection between these things. Yet, Martine did a fantastic job building this planet and its people. From the book jacket, we learn Martine, whatever, is a historian and a city planner, and it's evident she's applied these skills to her novel. Texticali is immensely thought out, and the little details about the culture struck the perfect balance between alien and relatable. I love the naming convention. That was by far one of the most fascinating and interesting elements. I was thinking about it, and my Texticali name would definitely be 18 Hand Grenade. And the technology was fascinating, too, in the novel. There's a lot of focus on technology. I liked that aspect a lot. The importance of poetry in conveying political intention and entertainment was also a very intricate and complex system that was thoroughly impressive in its design. But at the same time, I wonder how accessible it is to anybody but the upper echelons of society. Like, are the peasants, if there are peasants, or like the lower class in this society, are they going around spouting poetry? Are they able to understand this poetry? Like, I don't know. It seemed like this was a story very much relegated to the upper class, and I'm not super interested in the upper class. Like, you know my opinion on the rich. Eat the rich. The novel did have some funny moments, namely around the naming convention, as I mentioned, and while I said the characters were a little dull, I didn't dislike any of them. 12 Azalea, one of the, good characters, was probably my favorite character, because at least he had some kind of a personality. Everyone else is very stoic, and I was just like, guys, maybe a bit more intensity. Overall, this novel for me is like most works of art in a museum. While I appreciate the talent behind the craft, I wouldn't hang it on my wall. So, like this book, I appreciated the thought she put behind it. I appreciated the complexity of the world that she's created, but I don't really want to read number 2, and I'm not going to buy it. So I gave the book 4 to 5 stars because, as I said, I was impressed by it, but I can't say that I loved it. And even, it's more like a 3.75. I gave it bonus points for having good LGBTQ representation. That bumped it up to 4. There you go. So the next book that I read was Chilling Effect by Valerie Valdes, which is a space opera. You can check out my video review of this book, which was a lot of fun, and I really loved it. The next book I read was My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a horror novel that came out the past month in August. I got that as an e-arc from NetGalley, and I also read Rite of Passage by Alexei Pashin, which is Pashin or whatever, which was a classic sci-fi from the late 60s, and you can check out my review here as well. So the next book that I read was Star Wars Galaxy's Edge Black Spire by Delilah Dawson. So this is obviously a Star Wars book by Del Rey. It came out in 2019. I got it off Amazon because I realized after it had been out for a couple years, that it was actually a sequel to the awesome novel Phasma, also by Delilah Dawson. I have it up there at the top. In fact, I'm not sure why this book, on the back or anything, doesn't explicitly state that it's pretty much a sequel. It is a sequel to that book because a lot of the characterization in the novel hinges on what happened in Phasma. So I guess I will say that this review contains spoilers because I'm going to talk about this, which is there's things directly from Phasma in it. So anyway, sorry about that if you even intend on reading this. So what is this book about? After a devastating loss at the hands of the First Order, General Leah Organa has dispatched her agents across the galaxy in search of allies, sanctuary, and firepower, and her top spy, Vi Marati, may have just found all three in a secluded world at the galaxy's edge. To survive, Vi will have to seek out the good-natured heroes hiding in a world that redefines scum and villainy. With the help of a traitor's trooper and her Cerberus droid, she begins to gather a colorful band of outcasts and misfits and embarks on a mission to spark the fire of resistance on Batuu, I can't remember, before the First Order snuffs it out entirely. So, if you are a fan of Star Wars, the third trilogy, you will probably like this. I am a fan. I am going to say something very controversial, and that is that I like The Last Jedi. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I liked that it went in a different direction. I thought that I liked Luke's character in that one. I liked the weird sexual tension between Rey and Kylo. I was a Reylo shipper from the start. I actually really enjoyed The Last Jedi. I thought that while I also enjoyed the last one, my brain's escaping me. Oh my god. Well, I enjoyed number 9. I liked actually number 8 the best. But anyway, you can feel free to unfollow me or argue about me about The Last Jedi in the comments. I don't know. I liked it. Anyway, so The biggest drawback for me in this novel was the relationship between Czechs or whatever and Vi. So there's cursory explanations given throughout that would be very confusing to a new reader to understand the relationship. In Phasma, they have a very complicated relationship where he used to be in the First Order. He was a captain, and he actually captured and tortured Vi. Not like he electrocuted her. Like, it's not like he chopped off her fingers, but still, it's not. It's a bit problematic, just a little bit. Anyway, it was weird because there was also a tension there that I picked up on, but maybe it was just me because I'm strange. But anyway, this would have been extremely confusing to a new reader, and even for those of us who read Phasma, what should have been an interesting and intense complexity between them, because it should have been, was really lacking. There was so much else going on in this novel. Like, this novel is huge. It has the space to deal with this, but there's so much else going on that their relationship is pushed to the wayside. And in fact, I don't think we really even needed their plot at all. In fact, I don't think Czechs needed to be in this book whatsoever. The ending and everything else in the novel could have been achieved without him. A certain aspect of the ending felt very forced to me and almost unnecessary. In fact, I found him rather unnecessary. So I don't understand why they even needed to do that. This did not have to be a sequel. They could have just cut him out altogether. That being said, I did enjoy the novel. You know, it was easy to read. Vi is a fun character, and Dawson has this very approachable style that's easily digestible. Like, you're not going to be bored reading this book. There are a few comic moments too. You know, the acerbic droid felt a little bit forced. Like, not every droid has to have like a kind of like saucy personality now, but whatever. Unfortunately, though, again, there are so many characters that no one has enough space to breathe or grow, and the main antagonist is pretty bland, and the plot kind of meanders. There were scenes I really liked, and a couple of characters I thought were fun, but I didn't really feel the stakes in this novel. You know, if they fail, like, the Resistance could just find another backwater planet to build a base on, right? Like, I don't know, like... Overall, while it is an enjoyable book, and most Star Wars fans, I think, will enjoy it because there are a lot of little, like, you know, little fan servicey things in here, it's rather forgettable. I don't know if I'll even keep it. I probably won't. I'll probably take it to the used bookstore. One thing I'll say is that while this didn't contribute to my rating, my head really enjoys that Vi and Artex are just friends, and that a romance was not forced between them. And that Vi seemed to be saying that she was asexual, because we need characters, you know, in Star Wars who aren't straight, because there are, like, nobody who isn't straight. But my heart, my weird heart, was hoping for a romance. Yet, I do realize that this is extremely problematic given their past, as I mentioned. The novel doesn't have enough space to address the nuances of that sort of thing properly, even if it wanted to. I also think it would have been irresponsible, given a lot of younger readers partake in these novels, and I wouldn't want them thinking that you should, you know, hook up with your torturer. But my weird heart was like, I kind of feel them. Anyway, I'm glad that they didn't, even though I'm just like, I'm weird. Anyway, I gave Star Wars Black Spire, Galaxy's Edge, whatever it is, 3 out of 5 stars. It's enjoyable, but kind of forgettable. So the next book that I read was Blood Binds the Pack by Alex Wells. But I'm going to talk about it and the first book, Hunger Makes the Wolf, in a separate video that's going to come out like later in the month, because I adore these 2 books, like 5 out of 5 stars, both of them, and I want to convince people to read them. So so look out for that video if you want to know what these are. They're sci-fi westerns, and they're very fun. The next book that I read was called The Slynx by Tatyana Tolstaya. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And translated by Jamie Gambrell. So what is this? This is a post-apocalyptic literary fiction. It came out in 2000. It's by NYRB Classics. So what is the Slynx? What is a Slynx? I don't know. I still don't know. What is this thing? Well, I can't tell you where I heard about it, but as I can recall, I think I got it for Christmas, and I've been waiting for the cottage to read it. I don't know why. I was like, this is a cottage book. I thought it was an older book, actually. I thought it came out in the 60s, but I'm totally wrong. It's from 2000, so yeah. So where the road, you know, is this gut-wrenching portrayal of humanity in a post-apocalyptic world, The Slynx is a satirical takedown of said world. It's at once both maddening and funny. You know, the novel is a story that shows how even when we get a fresh slate in society, we still manage to make the same damn mistakes. So what is The Slynx about? 200 years after civilization ended in an event known as the Blast, Benedict isn't one to complain. He's got a job, transcribing old books and presenting them as the works of the great new leader, Fyodor Kuzmich, glory be. And though he doesn't enjoy the privileged status of Mirza, at least he's not a serf or a half-human, four-legged degenerator harnessed to a troika. He has a house, too, with enough mice to cook up a tasty meal, and he's happily free of mutations. No extra fingers, no gills, no coxcombs sprouting from his eyelids. And he's managed, at least so far, to steer clear of the ever-vigilant centurions who track down anyone who manifests the slightest sign of free-thinking, and the legendary screeching Slynx that waits in the wilderness beyond. The book is masterfully created in terms of setting. Most of the story takes place in a hard-lived town where people have mice as their main protein, and they live rather medieval lives. These aspects are explained in sometimes excruciating detail by the main character, Benedict. And we also learn of the various mutants and these people called the Oldeners, who basically survive the blast and are somehow immortal. If you like towns struggling in post-apocalyptic conditions, then you will enjoy this. This is the aspect that I really liked about it. Unfortunately, and this is my own knowledge gap, there are doubtlessly dozens upon dozens of references and allusions to Russian folklore and literature that I completely missed. I love The Master and Margarita by Bulgakov. I've read Anna Karenina and some Dostoevsky, but I have not read Tolstoy yet. Nor was the Russian side of things a major interest of mine when it comes to studying history. Though I know the basics of the 20th century from the Romanovs to the end of the Cold War. As such, while I got the gist of the satire and some of the situations were funny in and of themselves, there were things that I know that I'm missing, and that wasn't really frustrating, but I somehow felt like there's something here I'm not getting, and I felt kind of dumb. It's possible I'm just dumb, but I don't think I'm that dumb. Likewise, like a lot of literary fiction, the novel's plot gets a little lost in the details. While there is appropriate build-up to the ending, there weren't really any stakes. I didn't really care as much. All the characters are caricatures, and they're all pretty much unlikable, so we don't really care about any of them. And while I understand Benedict's desire to find more reading material, because that's always, obviously, look at my TBR up there, it seemed like a quick jump to dictatorship in what happened in this story. Then again, Benedict isn't really a person. He's a stand-in for several things, as are most characters and events and things in the novel. This book, I think people that are really up on Russian literature, people that are really into satire, I think would really enjoy this book. In truth, while I found it impressive and deeply intelligent and far deeper than it appears on the surface, it was also dry and kind of slow at times for me. This is possible because I kept getting interrupted while reading it because I was reading at the cottage and people keep trying to talk to me. But, it could also be that I just was missing a lot of a level of it that really I would need to read a lot more Russian literature to understand. So maybe one day in the future I can pick it up again. Anyway, I still enjoyed it. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. It's more like a 3.5, but whatever. I mean, I don't think Tatyana is going to come after me and be like, you're stupid, you didn't understand my book, though. If she does, okay. Sorry. Anyway, recommended to people that like post-apocalyptic wastelands, but also like literary fiction. So I'm not sure how many of you are out there, but if you're out there, this is the book for you. You also have to know a lot of Russian stuff. And then the last book I read was The Offset by Calder, Szewczak. I apologize again for the name, I can't pronounce it, which you can find in my recent video. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Have you read any of the books that I reviewed? Have you read Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, Black Spire? Or have you read A Memory Called Empire? Probably more likely the latter. If you have, did you agree with me? I don't think so. Most people seem to give this book a 5 out of 5. So I'm prepared for some acerbic comments in the comments, though. I mean, you guys are really nice. I don't think I've had a mean comment yet, but day's coming probably. Anyway, thank you.